Okay, hi, good afternoon. I'm happy to be here to present. As Paul said, I work in Bosch. There's a mismatch between the names, Bosch Security Systems and Building Technologies for historical reasons. So in English, we're Building Technologies. In German, we're Sicherheitssysteme, which means security systems, because we do both, actually. And well, this is my background. So basically, I started in the world of industrial automation, very briefly to change to software quality management and process improvement. And then I started my journey in cybersecurity. I did my PhD here in the UK. Actually, Paul here was my director of studies, so it was a happy coincidence. Now he was introducing me. And I'm in Bosch since 2019. I worked 3 years in the Product Security Incident Response team, and since last year, I'm Product Security expert in Bosch Building Technologies, which is the role I'm going to speak about and the challenges we have. But first, an introduction. I think everybody has heard about Bosch. Maybe you have a dishwasher or a power drill. Or maybe you don't know, you have a lot of Bosch products inside your car because the main business of Bosch is being a supplier for the automotive industry. And we have also e-bikes, a lot of things. But since last year, I don't see all these products, but only this ones here, which is the division of Building Technologies, or also known as Security Systems, where we have intrusion detection and access control, security cameras, video systems, fire alarms, communication systems, so that includes loudspeakers, for instance, in the airports, stadiums, and also conference systems, for instance, in the European Parliament. And building integration systems, which allow integrating all of these areas. So there are these buzzwords that come from the commercial. I stole this slide from our sales department. So IoT, artificial intelligence, which is great for the business, but in the side of product security, we are the ones that have to make sure to balance these new technologies with assuring we are delivering secure products. So this is our website in product security in Bosch Building Technologies. It's a QR code if you want to check it out. So Bosch has a product security incident response team where I used to work, and I'm happy to have learned all the processes and to have realized in previous versions of the IoTSF conference that when they present this report about responsible disclosure, we were among these 13% of companies that did have a responsible disclosure policy and a vulnerability management process that's state of the art. But in Bosch Building Technologies, we wanted to go beyond, so we have our own website in where we assure customers that we care about product security, not only after it's released to the market, but through all the product life cycle, from the definition of requirements to the commission. So that's our promise to customers, but then we have to work to fulfill that promise, which is a lot more challenging than it looks like. So that's what my talk is about today. So challenges, opportunities of improvement. So I'm try to be transparent about that this is not an easy task, but then also some success stories, because it's good also to look that we have challenges, but also we have achieved some things. And as I said, it doesn't look we're too bad comparing to our competitors, since in these reports we appear to, to be in a good place. So there are many topics that I put in bullet points there because I think they might ring a bell for everyone. They might be familiar. Cybersecurity culture and awareness. Last year I was in a working group of cybersecurity culture in Bosch, realizing how well aware all the cybersecurity professionals are in Bosch, but not so quite other roles that need also to be aware. Supply chain security, same thing. We are nothing if our suppliers are not secure. Vulnerability management, which was my original field before I moved to Building Technologies, verification and validation, and also legacy products, which I think also will ring a bell, especially the ones working in OT. So I think Building Technologies, depending on the point of view, many of us consider it also as OT, and of course we have a lot of legacy products. So first, before going to the challenges and all, I want to introduce what's our process. So this comes from Bosch. The SEP, or Security Engineering process, was a best practice introduced by Bosch 2015. A little late if we compare with Siemens, which had the stagnant situation and had to come much earlier into taking care about product security, but still I think quite early compared to most of industry. So in a few years after, this became not a good practice, but a mandatory directive that all Bosch products have to fulfill. So in Building Technologies, it had to be adapted to the reality of the different product lines. And the strategy that was made at the time, and we continue with it, is to embed this security engineering process in the whole engineering development process. So when a project management is looking into the different things they have to do in a project, security is already there. They don't have to look elsewhere, but it's already in the blueprints for every project, all the security controls that need to be done during the product life cycle. And of course, compliance with this is checked by an independent entity, that's the quality management department. And of course, in Bosch security, as it was said also in talks before, it's considered by us in Bosch as a quality attribute. So this is a very broad diagram of our security engineering process. The one we have internally has a lot more details of all the deliverables we have in each stage, but I clean it up, and also for reasons of internal information, and did this diagram a lot more general. But if you see, still is a lot. So we start with our threat and risk analysis, done together with a review of the state of the art, will allow to create a security concept. Then there's a concept for secure implementation as well. Security validation and verification through the whole life cycle, including also here here is including the security monitoring part, security aware suppliers, and this includes up to end of life and even until end of support. So the idea, or what we aim for, is that our security concept should be above the security state of the art. So that's our benchmark, and the requirements we put in our security concept have to be above the state of the art. So for that, we have to provide a lot of help to the teams, because it's very generic, very ambiguous when you say, okay, you have to build this that has state-of-the-art security. So a project manager, what is that? Have no idea. Then after the product is released, the product manager has to maintain this security state of the art. So we try to provide some guidance for establishing for each type of product what is the expected levels of security is. And all this is well aligned for industry best practice, but still we are still learning how to improve all this. And that's why I will start with some challenges, because if you review our policies and our process, I think they're really good and really well aligned with all security standards. But other thing is what is happening really in the projects, and how this is taken to the real engineering, and how the interpretation of these policies we have. So it's a continuous job to not also to maintain up to date these policies, but to help the different projects to really apply these directives in the development. So I will give some examples here of challenges, and then I will go to the next in detail. I picked 3 challenges and 3 success stories for the next slides. And this is just some examples. So for instance, we always do threat and risk analysis. So everybody knows that's to have a good idea what are the risks and how to prioritize them. For them, that we have a very good standard process and a very good tool. However, it's an inherent risk that not always the risks are well assessed or well understood by all the stakeholders. And that has to do with also all the roles being security aware and being able to understand the risks, because you have the experts in the product and then the security experts, and then we need an overlap there so the security experts understand well the product to be able to assess the risks, and the experts in the product understand well the cybersecurity risks. The security concept also, its idea is to define requirements for both the design of the product and how it will operate. And then we provide a lot of templates and guidelines to do that. But however, this depends a lot on the environment where the product will operate, and that's out of our control. So you try to do security by default and try to provide all the guidelines to customers, but this is not always that easy to implement in practice. Then we have security with supplier. So we have tried to ensure that third-party components are secure. This also includes open source. And then for suppliers that are not open source, we have controls in place. I will talk about that later in our success stories. However, there's still risk because there's not always easy to find suppliers. We have some niche products that there are some components that you don't have a lot of alternatives on suppliers. So you're mostly obliged to one or two suppliers on the market, and then you don't have much ways to pressure them to fulfill your security requirements. So that's always a challenge. And then verification and validation and pen testing is on our requirements. We have mandatory tests, at least vulnerability scans and pen testing. However, we suggest a whole battery of different tests. There are very good guidelines that provided by Bosch. But again, not all the teams are very aware or know very well how to apply these other tests besides scans and pen testing. For instance, dynamic analysis testing is something we are aiming for, but we haven't succeeded in getting all the projects to do this test, to include them in their testing plans. So now, challenges and opportunities of improvements. Also related to the examples I just said. First, security culture and awareness. So I said this before, our processes, I think, are, for what I have read and reviewed, were well aligned with the standards. However, not all the stakeholders are on the same page as we security professionals in the company are. And for this, it's important to understand we traditionally were a hardware company. So all the introduction of Internet of Things, of software, has been a painful process in Bosch, and to adapt to this software-oriented world has been an issue. I still have discussions with the guys of safety because they say, okay, no, safety, we have to update state-of-the-art very often. I said, yeah, but in security, it's like it can change tomorrow. It's another pace, and still it's hard to get in their minds, the hardware people, the safety people, that cybersecurity is a different field where things happen a lot more quickly and change a lot more quickly. So yeah, it's an ongoing process to get all stakeholders to develop this understanding. So we continuously provide guidance, training, tooling. And yeah, as I said, I think this will never end, but we're getting better each day. Legacy products, as I said, this is a known pain in operation technologies. And what I realized since I work more closest to the products than I did in my previous role is that sometimes there's still even demand for legacy products from the customers. So that, and even devices that are not even sold anymore, they're still being used. So it's really hard because many times it's out of our control that customers are still using devices that were end of support 10 years ago. So there's an example actually. This advisory we published last year because it was found by somebody and reported to Maitre. And this device was end of life in 2013. So it was 9 years because this was found in 2022. Somebody found an old device, tested, and of course, it was vulnerable. So what do you expect? Something that was from last century almost. So it was really painful to find who was responsible for this because the product manager wasn't there in the organization anymore. So this business unit, we have them in the United States. So I have to call the person there, and had to find like another product manager that would take responsibility for this, even he didn't even know the product. They had to try to find, like, in their storage, one panel to see, to reproduce the vulnerability, but at the end it was, okay, but probably it's true. We don't need to even reproduce this, probably it's true, but this product's totally end of support. Anyway, we did the advisory, because that's what we do. We are totally into responsible disclosure, so, and there, as you see, we pointed out this is obsolete and announced end of life. We recommend to replace it with a new generation product because we cannot patch something that has been 10 years end of life. And then, well, now we are taking a better eye in also providing security advisory even from end of support products. So last challenge, supply chain security. I have a very good story of this with a supplier, but I cannot tell it today because it's not gone to an end. But speaking like more generically, Log4j has been named a lot today, so it's an issue, matching open source components, and then as a product can be only secure as its components. So as I said before, we try our suppliers to be, and our open source to be compatible with our security requirements. For that, we have security questionnaires and cybersecurity special terms and conditions. However, we have some challenges. For instance, are our suppliers having SBOMs up to date? Long existing supplier relationships that precede our security policies, and also the agreement that we sign with suppliers. So then we have to convince existing suppliers to align with this. I said this before, niche or specialized suppliers that are not really easy to replace, and that relates to some recent case we had with a supplier where we had to work with them for them to improve their security because we couldn't change them for another supplier. Supplier audits are not really a thing. We have done some, but yet we haven't properly introduced that in our processes, but it's some of our goals for next year. So, as I said, we work together with suppliers to improve security. We have also a policy for open source and license management in parallel with security. However, still, this is a topic that causes us a lot of challenges, and we have a lot of opportunities for improvement. Then I don't have a lot of time, so I'll quickly go through our success stories. Also related to suppliers, we have engaged a lot with our purchasing department. So what I said about security awareness with all stakeholders, I think most of our buyers know, and it's also embedded on their processes, that they need to do cybersecurity checks on suppliers. So first they have to apply one general questionnaire, one project-specific questionnaire, and since last year we introduced special terms and conditions that they have to sign. I mean, this was introduced in the process long ago, but last year we did a template, so the purchasing department just needs to use that template, take it to the supplier, sign. Cyber Resilience Act has helped us a lot to put pressure and tell the purchasing people, you know, this will be required by law, so don't resist to it anymore. And it was very easy at the end to engage with purchasing and get this template published. Published, I mean, internally in our processes. So these are examples of the requirements that suppliers should comply. Nothing like crazy, all what's also aligned with upcoming regulations and state-of-the-art practices. Our second success story, and I like this very much, we have in-house pen testing. We have a very small team of pen testers in our department. I think we're one of the few divisions in Bosch that has this, and it's quite good. Of course, they cannot cover all the pen testing, which is okay because we also hire a lot of external pen tester companies. But they give a much personalized treatment to projects, so they support them also in patching and retesting into the process, and even selecting suppliers when they cannot cope with the demand. So we have results such as we have findings that were missing previous pen tests. So because our product have to undertake every year a new pen testing. So our internal pen testers found things that the previous years the pen testing suppliers overlooked. Also, there's more engagement with the developing teams. As they're internal, there's no need to sign NDA. They can share information much easily, get access to the systems more easily, and also they talk direct to the developers. I love to talk to the pen testers of my team. I really like to talk to them because I get so much rich information I can use later to improve the processes, because they speak as peers with developers at the same level, and developers get very honest with them. So then I get a lot of information for them. So that's the third point, identification of opportunities of improvement. That I think it's a great win of having in-house pen testing. And as I said, it doesn't replace having external pen testers, but it's a complement. And our third success story, as I said, we have a lot of diverse products, even being only building technologies and not whole Bosch. We have different products that are divided in different business units, and it's impossible for the team I work with the product security officer to know in detail all development teams or projects. So there's a network. This is us, the BT product security team. We're just a few people. We have to respond to the Bosch central cybersecurity departments. But then we have all these product security partners that will engage directly with each product line. And that works really well. We have done a lot of synergy, a lot of improvements. So basically, they have direct relationships with the projects, with the project managers, with the product managers. And it's really a good community. It has been a great experience to work with, a very positive community. We have done a lot of things. Most of the improvements we have done in the process come from their ideas or working groups we have done together. So this is a picture of them. We meet once a year in person because they're spread all over the different countries. And we meet for 3 days and get a lot of ideas and a lot of improvements. And also it gives you some motivation to carry on when you meet with security people. So as a conclusion, first, defining good processes is a good start point. But implementing them, it's never ending, and also improving. And cybersecurity awareness is important for all roles, as well as supporting roles. And I gave now the example of purchasing, but we have sales, after sales supports, legal departments, so many roles that we have to continuously work with and get them also have the same understanding we have. Just an example, I have somebody from the legal department saying, well, why do we publish advisories that you're telling hackers about vulnerabilities, and then having to, over and over, always having to explain these things to different roles, and it's important to have them also in the same page. So, continuous improvement is a commonplace, but I think it's the only way, because you cannot, it's like too many challenges to try to address them all at the same time. So you need to go step by step, and it's good also to recognize progress. That's why I wanted to share with you, because I don't think we are there yet. I don't think we have it all figured out, but I think we have done also a lot. So that's it. And just last remark, we have to, we have the business goals, which are sometimes opposed to security goals, and we have to understand that as well. So sometimes we cannot just fight against the business, but we have to procure that the security risks are properly balanced with the business objectives. So that's all. So I did also some bullet points of the ideas I gathered. So I would like also to hear not only questions, but also if somebody can share experience, if we have.